Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing another Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. And, God, check out those abs. It's in the best shape. Anyway, so yeah, this one is another... Well, this is the final winner of the replay competition from the Down Under Cup. And it's kind of silly, but I love it. I think it's great. It's a all-women game. That's right, there's not a single man on this battlefield. It's all-female army versus all-female army. I'm not sure if they both planned it that way, or if they were both just doing it for the meme. But either way, it's two Dark Elf armies and all women. So here you can see Witch Elves in the front line. Oh, this is Gobbo Slayer, by the way. He's against Professor Pipes. So here you can see Witch Elves in the front line, Sisters of Slaughter in the back. More Witch Elves here, the Sisters of Seeing Doom, that terror will be nice, and also some Harpies. You can see here there is a Death Hag as well on the Cauldron of Blood, and Morathi in the air. I think Morathi is just great here, because being able to buff and debuff, well, just hugely debuff everything to be honest, is gigantic, and she has a great spell selection there of just Soul Stealer and Power of Darkness. Yeah, she really just wants to spam Soul Stealer, doesn't she? But yeah, those debuffs are huge. I mean, if you're facing a very similar army to your own, being able to just lower their combat stats by a gigantic degree with, was it Heart Render and the Soul Sword or something? Was it Heart Render and the Dark Sword? And her Enchanting Beauty. Yes, there's huge debuffs across the board. It's just going to give this army the advantage. But she's got all the debuffs, whereas his opponent has all the buffs. That's right, Crone Hellebron. I think Crone Hellebron here probably would have been better on the, you know, on the cart, on the Cauldron of Blood. But she's not. She's not. She still has great anti-infantry. She's quite a small target, and she can still chop things to pieces. But the extra armor probably wouldn't hurt if they knew that they were each going to bring an army like this, you know? I think the extra armor would have really helped against the opposing Sisters of Slaughter and Witch Elves. But all these Witch Elves, Sisters of Slaughter, they're all very scary. And again, Sisters Seeing Doom, of course. But there's also a Dark Sorceress, sorry, a Shadow Sorceress as well, which is very, very nice. Enfeebling Foe, super useful, that will tip any exchange. And the Penundral Pendulum, very good idea when you have this much stuff that can rampage. You know, any front line that just gets completely rampaged, it won't be able to run out of the way of the Pendulum. It will just get slaughtered. And you don't have to overcast it, because you don't have to worry about getting over any armor. So you can just keep casting it on stuff for quite cheap. So pretty damn cool. But here, 2 units of Harpies. So 2 units of Harpies on this side, only 1 on this side, but Morathi is in the air too. So very interesting to see how this is going to go. So I wonder what will happen. So here you can see Gobbo Slayer getting the high ground. So and especially on this map, it definitely has the feeling of Mustafar. So maybe that will, you know, sort of foreshadow what's to come. So here you can see the Harpies just positioning. Everything is repositioning into this clearing to try and bring these guys down the hill. But none of them have any range. None of them can really shoot at each other. Because, well, there are no female archers is the problem here, so none of them can really just jump on top of the other one. But, of course, Morathi being able to spam things like Soul Stealer will force these guys to have to move. And with Power of Darkness, she can just keep sapping the health off things that she doesn't really need, or just her own, because if she's sapping her own health off with Power of Darkness to then pay for Soul Stealer, she's going to get the health back from Soul Stealer. So, it's kind of win-win. You know, if she's not going to bother getting in a fight, then she doesn't really have to. It's pretty cool. So, still repositioning, and I think the Sorcerer's Shadow is a beautiful pick here. I think it's a beautiful pick, but you just can't beat the debuffs of Morathi, I think. You know, especially in what's essentially a mirror match. Those debuffs are just going to swing things in her favour. But, I mean, Hellebron does have the buffs. You know, the is it the Gaze of Cain? It is the Gaze of Cain, isn't it? Yeah, the Gaze of Cain. It's going to rampage your own troops, give them a huge melee attack debuff. That will outweigh the debuffs from Morathi. So, you know, there are ways to counter it, which is kind of cool. And Hellebron, more of a killer than Morathi is. But over here you can see the Harpies are starting to position. And the Doom Bolt did get pretty much avoided, sadly. But anyway, so Morathi is trying to bait in these Harpies by the looks of it. But of course, you know, Sorcerer's Shadow with that Enfeebling Foe on Morathi is going to lower her stats quite a bit. So that will make her a lot more vulnerable. But she lowers the stats of everything else that's fighting her. So suddenly, now that she's in combat with these guys, 4 melee attack. That's right, 4 melee attack. It's barely anything. That's barely a thing. And now a Soul Stealer on Hellebron to start whittling her down. She's even used a Witch Brew on herself for some reason. So here, there's that Enfeebling Foe. It's upgraded, so it's going to last a long time. But yeah, she's still got 13 melee defense, which would normally be lower than anything attacking you, but these guys only have 4 melee attacks, so she actually has the advantage here, and she can hit pretty hard. The anti-large certainly won't help, though, here. That's the problem with her. She has anti-large, and there's not really anything large here. I say there's not anything really. There is nothing large on the enemy army, so she's not going to be the best damage dealer here, but those debuffs just mean that these harpies will completely outmatch the opposing harpies. Here, though, ooh, nope, got out of the way, so Pendulum trying to get these 3 units sneakily, and they managed to avoid it, mostly. A little bit of a scratch there. But, yeah, maybe it would have been worth waiting for stuff to rampage, like over here, just wipe out those Witch Elves straight away, you know? Here you can see the Death Hag has pushed forward, and she's being attacked by everything, and there's that Gaze of Cain. I think it could have been used here, rather than here, but still, maybe you wanted to keep control of these Sisters of Slaughter. But, yeah, this Death Hag's taking a lot of damage. Although these guys aren't armor piercing, they hit pretty damn hard, and with that huge weapon damage and melee attack buffs on, you know, the Sisters of Slaughter, yeah, no, Death Hag's struggling. Death Hag is definitely struggling. So over here, Harpies chasing off other Harpies. Morathi just chilling by the looks of it. Just chilling. And over here, there's just plenty of Sisters of Slaughter left in reserve. So they will start swinging around. You can see these Witch Elves haven't been able to compete against 2 other Witch Elves. Crone Hellebron has charged in there, but with her Rampage, she's not going to be able to use her other abilities. And now a Soul Stealer on these units. It means Morathi's going to have even more health to play with. But this is pretty bad for the Death Hag. Wavering, looking really bad. Morathi's dived in, trying to get a hit in those Sisters of Slaughter and to lower these combat stats, but she can't really hang out in this fight. She can't afford to get pinned down by Witch Elves and lose the ability to use a magic or flee. You know, Morathi can't afford to get bogged down. All the Rampage is really stopping her from being able to do her usual antics. But over here, this isn't so bad. Just Crone Hellebron. Yeah, may as well lower her stats a hell of a lot. Saying that, they're still pretty huge. She has very good combat stats. But surrounded by Witch Elves, she won't be able to pick out Morathi amongst this crowd. And here, Conundrum Pendulum taking out half a unit Sister Slaughter. Very nice. And here, a free Doom Bolt. That's the Wand of Coradron or something like that. From Morathi, the free Doom Bolt does a huge amount of damage to these guys. Against unarmored units, that splash damage does a lot when they're blobbed up like this. And suddenly the Death Hag's actually kind of fine again. You know, that Witch Brew giving huge combat stats, and now that everything's so injured, every time, you know, that Death Hag attacks anything, the splash damage will be able to kill a good few models, because they're just so injured now. So this is looking really bad for Professor Pipes here. And now the Sorcerer's Shadow is being bullied by these Harpies. The other Harpies seem to have returned, so it's going to be a Harpy on Harpy fight, but one unit clearly has more health. Another Soul Stealer. Another one. Another one. And that is a Pyrrhic victory. That was pretty great. Pretty great. I just think it just shows, you know, Morathi is just so good in a mirror match. When there's very little to differentiate the 2 armies, just being able to completely nuke the stats of anything you want, you know, by being able to just dive on top of that unit and nuke all the nearby stats, it just gives your units the edge, no matter what you're doing, and, you know, no amount of buffs from Crone Hellebron is going to work, especially when there's just so much Rampage on the other side. I mean, sure, a lot of her abilities make things Rampage, but at least it gives them buffs as well, right? So, suddenly, if she can't really do that anymore, because she's Rampage, she's going to get cut to ribbons. Because all these guys are anti-infantry, and yeah, they're going to cut her to pieces. And that's exactly what happened. But yeah, very similar armies, and I think it's all just down to Morathi. You know, being Morathi, being able to nuke the stats. The Death Hag, I think, did wonderfully. I mean, 93 kills, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good indeed. And that armor really held up a lot of units. Although that Death Hag was taking a tremendous amount of hurt, she held in the fight. You know, she carried on fighting. She was able to survive and keep, like, 3 units busy. You know, while, you know, the rest managed to just completely overwhelm certain flanks. The air fight, just Morathi won it pretty much by herself because the Harpies could no longer fight anything. I mean, look at that, 3 kills? 3 kills amongst 2 units. It just shows, yeah, these Harpies did a lot better because they were fighting something that was just completely nuked. You know, it was pretty wonderful. So, yeah, Morathi, she's just amazing. So good. But in a mirror match, I think those buffs and debuffs are so important because it's not a case of just making sure you got the right, you know, the right units on the right things. Everything in this army pretty much has the same job, and that's killing infantry. And they're pretty much all infantry, so it's pretty even there, right? You know, it's not like those buffs and debuffs aren't really going to work quite as much if the entire enemy army is large units that are good versus infantry against a load of infantry that are good against infantry, right? You know, it's a mirror match, you know, so those debuffs are going to count a lot more. And I think that's what swung it. But yeah, very silly battle. All women. Not a single guy on the field. I think that's a lot of fun. So absolutely love it. So guys, if you enjoyed this, then please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.